someone else, third-party research organization. So they have found out that typically in any attack, the external users are only 33 to 31.5 to 33% of the external users who are the attackers. Most of the time is the insiders who are the real cause of attack. So it might be a malicious insider, or it may be a intentful insider. And in this research, they have also come out with a report which says that 62% of the organizations don't put any control on their privileged users as compared to controls on non-privileged users. So you have to focus on the perspective that how it is also important to secure the privileged users, not only just controlling on to a non-privileged users. So there was another survey which was done, or this was a study which just came out in 2015 on the basis of 2014 attacks. So of the security attacks for various organizations, the single data loss cost around $152, and the total, like for any breach, the cost was around 3.8 million. So this is a value for a single attack. And that is why attackers are motivated, hackers are motivated to do attacks. To get data, to earn that. So talking about big data kind of environment, typically a CMO starts a project to analyze that how can we enhance our sales, how can we better reach our customer. They start a project for an analytics and big data platform. So once they start the project, it is being started by one department. It is not being started by IT, because they want a faster output. They want that they should have results in a short term. So typically they don't involve IT kind of IT teams. They just involve this one team. It is a kind of a raw IT team. They start working on that project, and they don't follow the security or IT specific best practices and processes, because it is more over a one specific project. And the important point is to note that even this project has a data, and which can be a production data which is coming from your IT system for this specific project. And you are not following any specific security measures or controls for this specific project. And even the monitoring, privileged users, everything will also be in this project. In any big data kind of environment, you have a distributed file system. So in distributed file system, you have moved your data from one place to multiple places, and it is being parallelly processed and used by multiple services. That is the value which big data provides for any organization. But big data is not developed from the perspective of a security. So even any specific data, whether you talk about whether it is lying on a database or a big data environment, there is a sensitive data. What is your critical data? What is the data which you want to protect from moving out? So classification is the first exercise which you have to do even for a there on a big data or a database platform. So this slide is on kind of a HDFS. So HDFS is your file system on which all the files are is being processed by or used by Hive, or even from other like Pig or Ozo. these are the various services like analytics, or you can say Hive is a different platform which uses calls on queries to a big data platform like Hadoop to get a parallel processing and give the result to a user. So in this, the important point is the services are being parallelly using this HDFS, and there are multiple sources from which the information is asked and you have to provide that. That is a typical nature of a Hadoop kind of big data environment. So now you can't use a primitive or other way of security measures that there is one channel we can protect it, but the channel number of channels to access the information has increased. So you have to have a control from the perspective of multi-channel. So this is on the big data technology. Right now, the focus of big data was not security. The focus was faster processing, data access in a real time, providing the information analytics in a faster way. So how to secure that big data kind of environment which doesn't have discovery or classification of data, which is not able to find relationship of users to their roles or what access they have to sensitive data, then there are very few tools which are in the industry which are available for big data kind of environment which can be protected, and even for enterprise solutions like database or your file servers as a single platform which does your centralized access control for all the specific databases, big data or file servers is also not a centralized console is not available right now. And even on the big data kind of environment, you can't track who is doing what because you have a distributed file system and data is being parallelly processed. And the important point, even in the big data access control, how access control is implemented on a big data kind of environment is typically you have a files on which you define access control, and it is kind of a manual in nature. When your environment increases from one cluster to multiple cluster, you have to go on each and every server to write that file manually. So in today's IT world, which is dynamic, users are changing every day, administrators are changing every day, it becomes hassle for any organization to maintain that. What are the specific risks for any specific breach or any specific attack which has happened for any organization? That is data breach, which is, we have seen that the cost of data breaches is huge. Then brand reputation also goes down. Secondly, it also talks about, like specifically, like I have told in my last slide, that new users, onboarding of new users, maintaining their access control is the biggest challenge in a big data kind of environment. And big data is also attractive target for any attacker, because if they attack it, it has a loose access control, it is open, and it is, because the focus is more on processing the data, getting the data in a faster way, though the security is not the biggest concern over there. So it is loose security. So any attacker typically attacks big data kind of environment where the data is much higher than a one single source. So that is why attackers are making more target attacks on a big data kind of environment. So with IBM specific approach, what we do with the big data or any specific database or file specific unstructured data on file servers, what we can do is we can discover and classify that data. We can protect that data using masking, using rules that the privileged users should not be able to run specific or see specific data, whether it is lying on a big data or a database or whether it is on a file server. And we can also monitor their activity. What are they doing on that specific database server or big data server, and we can also monitor the ad hoc queries which are run on a big data environment. And most importantly, this solution can scale up for your unstructured data, structured data which is lying on a database or a big data environment, and it can also help you in discovering the vulnerabilities which are there on database server or big data or even on a file server. So it can help you in discovering those vulnerabilities as well. So what is the inability of any big data environment is tracking who has got what access, lack of control on sensitive data, and the compliance. Like specifically, if you have to follow any compliance for any of your uh, like SOX or PCI, then what you have to do for that following of that compliance is you have to do a manual specific activity on that data server or on big data or on a unstructured data. With this, you can run compliances across multiple platforms using a single console. So you don't have to worry about going at each place manually running it and getting it, the reports. So it helps in increasing the efficiency. It helps in protecting distributed environment. It helps in identifying that who is the user, who is doing this activity, what controls we can put it on that user. So all that controls is just a console away. So you use this console, use it, protect every database, big data, or a file server. So Guardium is the solution which helps in all this, whether it is NoSQL platform, DB, big data, or file server. So what Guardium does, it helps in discovering, classifying the data. It helps in protecting the data, whether you talk about masking, redirection, or termination, like specifically if there is any DDL, DML command which is run by any database user, privileged user, it can stop. Like specifically there is a drop command which is run by any administrator, it can stop the administrator from running that command. So typically any rogue admin who is trying to do any misuse of any specific privilege, it can be monitored and it can be protected in a real time. Then it can also help in a vulnerability assessment. So if you want to do a vulnerability assessment on a databases, because on the databases you have to specifically follow multiple things when you go for a vulnerability assessment kind of exercise, which typically infrastructure vulnerability scanners are not able to provide. Like whether you want to run a privilege specific, which admin have got what specific privileges, you can run a privilege scan. Then what is the configuration which is being on the database server, whether it is left to a default configuration, that kind of specific reports can be generated and you can take a remediation step. Even if you have kept the password as a weak, the tool can discover that. And it supports multiple platforms, whether you talk about cloud, whether you talk about big data, whether you talk about DB, whether you talk about unstructured data which is residing on a file server. This is a widest platform support for a data protection from classification to protection. So it supports even application. So the important use case is if they are application users and you want to know which user, application user is performing a particular activity on database server, you can monitor that as well. So it supports out-of-box integration with SAP, Oracle eBase, and various other enterprise applications. And file servers like file shares like SharePoint, or even if you have made it on Unix or Windows. So I'll talk about the case study. We have a case study for each sector. But the important one is for one of our BFSI customer, we have this Guardium uh, for 5,000 plus databases, and which also included a big data environment. So they are monitoring the privileged users, even the application users. They are protecting the privileged users from running specific DDML, DML commands, and protecting them from any dropping of the databases. There are multiple scenarios which you can, or use cases which you can do with this solution. This comes to the end of my session. So if you have any queries, please feel free. I'm also here. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I invite our next speaker, let me remind you that we are giving away points and we are giving away those Taj Mahals 3D printed. As of now, you are a little ahead. Here this table, you are just 1 point behind them because they got 2 points for the previous question that I asked. So also, we are not breaking for lunch right now. We will be breaking after all the presentations, which will take maybe another 45 minutes or so. One question, quick question. What is the color of the black box? Orange is the correct answer. So I got it from here, somewhere here. Where was this table? So I will give the points to 1, 2, 3 tables. Here Rajnish answered. Yeah, so I will not give the answer there. So 1, 2, 3 tables. So we will collate the points subsequently. We have our next speaker coming in. Business continuity and data protection. Milind Sonavne, Senior Sales Engineer, Nimble. Please get your hands together as Mr. Milind Sonavne joins us on stage. Thank you.
Good. Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. So basically, I know that okay, I'm in between you and your lunch, so I will finish it out faster. I hope mine is the last. Oh, sorry, sorry, guys. So basically. Okay. So basically, I'm from Nimble Storage. Any of you heard about Nimble Storage before? Yeah, good. Anybody else? I know we are the new company entering into the storage industry. 7 years old company. We have presence in US, so we started in US. We started in US in 2008. So 7 years old company having 8,500 customers. We are in leaders quadrant for Gartner. We come out with our IPO in 2013. We have publicly listed in NYSE. And if anybody checking the NPS score, which is Net Promoter Score, we are 85 in Net Promoter Score. We are the highest in the industry. Okay, that gives us major advantage. 50 plus countries we are having a presence, and almost 6 quarters old in India, having 75 plus installations in India, but then we are growing. We are growing. Customers, when we talk about 8,500 customers, this is what the list of customers are, and they varies from Coca-Cola to Verizon to multiple other stuff. So basically, we work with all the variables or verticals in the industry. Okay, all the enterprise class applications which works is we are very good in that. And when we talked about the digital transformation here, when we talked about, everybody talks about digital transformation, that wave needs to be, you need to ride that wave with the complete different approach. And what we are saying is whatever the architecture we have, with that architecture we can help you to ride that wave. Okay, from India customer point of view, almost 75 plus customers. This is some of the customer list, right from Tata Sky, Dish TV, KBR, Dhanlakshmi Bank, Cisco, Siemens, multiple financial organizations and all those stuff. So basically what we are saying is we have a completely unique architecture. We have completely unique architecture helping you ride that digital transformation wave. And that is what we always talks about, saying, okay, when the architecture is different, you can do this. How many of you are not using your smartphones? You are not using your smartphones for your Google Map. You are not using for your smartphones for Olas, Ubers, and all those stuff. How many of you are there? You are not using anything? Surprising. So we should meet later on, absolutely. Because normally everybody is either going for the Google Maps, going for Uber, going for Olas and all those. This is what killing a lot. This circle feels a lot way, because if I want to take a left turn,